So, first things first. You're all in specific sectors, yeah? Retail, insurance, banking, finance, engineering, entertainment, news. You're all in completely diverse sectors, but that doesn't matter, okay? Because these tips are global. You're all fairly pretty tuned in to your own sector, to your own job, to your own business. You know who your customers are, you know who your competitors are, you know what products your customers want to buy, you know the challenges in your sector, you know maybe what's trending in your sector, what's maybe coming down the line. Okay, so you all have a fairly good handle. This is really important. You've got to know everything about what is happening in your sector. What's your sector? Know the influencers, the bloggers, the feature writers, the reporters, the trends, the trendsetters. To make news, you have to create the news by breaking it, okay? An original story, contributing to the story, commenting on the story, disagreeing with the story, adding value from a personal experience, knowledge, expertise. And one thing I talk about later, I think, or is that tomorrow? But I'll tell you anyway, in case I forget. Education marketing. The web is all about education marketing. You're educating your customers about everything that you know and giving them free information. Why? They're going, she knows what she's talking about. She might be an expert. And I trust her because I've seen her work. Yeah? So all those steps in the buying process are done. So by the time you get a call, and I know this, by the time my phone rings, I know I'm hired. Unless the price or the dates don't work. And that's where you've got to be. The other thing that I would say to you then, when you're doing that, you need to start blogging about your industry. So, you know, just read a few articles. You're not stealing information, you're educating yourself, you're reading yourself into your brief, and then any stats that you do get, you're quoting who you got them from. So tip one, you've got to know your sector. Because if customers come to you, they expect you to know what the trends are, what the changes are. Tip two, now you're going to connect with the influencers. You've identified who the people are. Okay, first of all, you've got to ask yourself, am I interesting? Maybe you should ask somebody else if you're interesting rather than asking yourself. You might get a different answer. But it's interesting in relation to your area of work, okay? And the other thing that I should say is you might be interesting in real life, like if I have a conversation with you, or if we have tea and chats and we talk about your industry, and I might find you really interesting, but then if I want to connect with you online and I can't find you, then you're definitely not going to be interesting because you don't exist. So I mean, are you interesting online? Okay? You have to be interesting online. Again, tweeting things that are of interest, creating, resharing, blogging, all of that. Are you interesting? Do we share similar interests? Do I sell or engage? There is a difference. My mantra is don't sell, showcase. You're talking about free information, giving out free tips, and you're engaging and you're having a conversation. And then at the end, the question usually comes from the prospective customer to say, do you do any training courses? Can I buy that ebook? Yeah? So you've showcased your knowledge, your experience, your expertise, your fantastic products. And then they come and they ask you. And that's how it should work. And it's turning the sales process on its head. Am I a valuable source of knowledge, expertise in my area? That's crucial. That's crucial when it comes to online positioning and your place online and your authoritative status online. Am I an expert? That word makes me really nervous because I don't believe that we can be an expert in it because everything is changing. You can't know everything. But to be a valuable source of knowledge, know what you're talking about. Am I credible? You need to be a credible source. There is a lot of, there's this whole conversation about journalists versus bloggers. Okay, so I still pay my NUJ membership, my National Union of Journalists membership, because I still want to be able to report if I want to report on it. So I feel it still gives me that credibility, I feel like. Then you have bloggers who are non-trained journalists, but they're skilled writers who have an interest and a passion in a particular area, and they're getting paid to write, to review products. But that's just how it's evolved, because maybe the journalists weren't at the races when Web 2.0 blew up. But you have to be a credible source. Because the internet will tell you if you're not. That's the other thing, because once you put yourself out there, you've got to be ready for the backlash if it happens. But you have to be sure that you do credit your sources, that you don't plagiarize or steal information, that you don't purport to be, pushing something out that isn't originally your own. So, I mean, it's simple rules, life rules. Be honest, have integrity, and build your following organically. Never buy a following. When you're building your brand offline and building your business and your good reputation, there aren't any shortcuts. Okay? Do it the long way around, get your following, and they will stand to you in the long run. And then Google will congratulate you and support you for it. Okay? Just think about it like that. Am I popular? Yeah. Sometimes it is a popularity contest, like gating and trying to get more followers on Twitter and more likes on Instagram and followers on Instagram. Are people interested in me because of my work? Well, we're here in the context of your work, so they should be. Or am I a friend of a friend? Sometimes you can use your own connections to actually access another influencer. Okay? How to connect with journalists. What do we think of journalists? I used to be one, so I can say. Journalists like to create the story. Yeah? They like to be the author, the researcher, and the discoverer of the story. It's a difficult relationship, isn't it, in PR and journalists, and I jumped the fence. Yeah, I jumped the fence into that game. But you've got to build a working relationship with them, okay? There's a great news site that I follow in the States, and I kind of use it as my concept for my PR strategies. It's called HARO, H-A-R-O, and it stands for Help a Reporter Out. And that's your job. It's not to beg a journalist or an online media news outlet to publish your story because you think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Your job is to help a reporter out. And can you see, I'm all training you to be PR people. Because that's what the book says, the new rules of marketing and PR. That's your job, is to be the PR and marketing voice for your company. Okay? Help our reporter out. It's a really good way to think about it. Print, broadcast, TV and radio and online. Find the journalists you need to connect with. If you haven't already, do that this week. Okay? Just start following them on Twitter is the best place to start. Okay, so the PRI Sourcebook. So I'm a member of the Public Relations Institute of Ireland, so through my membership I get this book. So this is printed annually, and it's a kind of a manual of all the journalists, broadcast TV, online, trade magazines, PR companies in the country, okay? I have it because I'm in the industry. You're not going to have it because you're probably not, but there are other sources. News for Media is a website. It's free for a month to trial, and they have loads of different sections like business, finance, beauty, fashion. So maybe subscribe to that, and you'll have access to contacts free, but then after a while you might have to pay. But just try these things out. MediaLive2.com, it's another media site where you can get access to databases of particular journalists. Media HQ, it's a paid-for media database. It's updated in real time. So whereas my book might outdate, because people leave jobs, go on maternity leave and die, Media HQ is updated every week, okay? So you log in, you choose what journalist you want to find, and you can send your press release to them. But Twitter is brilliant. Just do the personal connection. The other important thing is when you're connecting with somebody on Twitter is listen to them. See what they tweet about, what they're asking. Journalists are often on Twitter and saying, are there any mothers in here that have twins or have triplets and, blah, blah, blah. So they're looking for stories all the time. So Twitter is a good place to be. There are about 650,000 people on Twitter in Ireland. So it's actually a small community compared to about 2.3 million people on Facebook. And it's a very targeted conversation as well. It's a bit more grown up on Twitter too. Google, just do a search for a particular journalist that you're looking for. Go to the media websites, have a look at the About Us or staff pages. And then LinkedIn as well. Bloggers are in the top 5 sources of reliable information. 81% of the online population trusts bloggers. 61% of the population has made a purchase based on a blogger recommendation. Any of you can become a blogger. Imagine getting paid to eat cakes, go on holidays, a new pram for your new baby. This is how it works. Yeah, and there's no guarantee the review is going to be good. But any of you can blog about the subject matter that you're involved in. You should be blogging anyway for your own company because it brings traffic to your site, organic traffic, okay? Some 11 tips for blogger outreach. What does blogger outreach mean? It means trying to influence a blogger, okay? So you don't go straight for the jugular and say, I've got a great new product, I think you should write about it. Similarly, don't do that to a journalist. Okay, you've got to kind of hook them in, make them interested, help a reporter out, help a blogger out. Some tips: form relationships, like the journalists. Follow their blogs, subscribe to it, listen to it, read their blogs, follow them on Twitter. Remember, it's all genuine. Yeah, it's all genuine. You're genuinely interested. Remember, they are one click away from your target audience. So while at the beginning of the day I was saying, oh, with digital marketing, you can cut out the middleman. We're reintroducing a middleman in the form of a blogger because they're hugely influential, because they have your targeted audience. Remember I said about local radio or local print? They're giving you a geographic audience. A blogger will give you that targeted audience. And if they write about your product, even for free, huge exposure to an audience, but also it's another backlink which helps your search engine optimization. Okay? So start by an introduction of you, your brand, your product or service. Maybe write this out. If you haven't done it already, have a file, a Word file somewhere where you actually have explained what you do, because you're going to have to call on this frequently when you're online. So just have it there. And remember to update it as changes happen. If you've got a new qualification, if you've got a new customers, just have that file and keep updating it. And in actual fact, you might be doing that similarly on LinkedIn, maybe on your company page or on your own LinkedIn profile. Offer to lend a hand or an insight. This is the other thing. You'll often find bloggers. So when you subscribe to these blogs, you'll then discover that they're asking the online community for advice, and that's where you step in. I worked in Ireland for a cycling show, Irish cycling show, a couple of years ago, and my job was to get media coverage. And there was one particular journalist in question that I really wanted to target, but I had to wait for the right time. And I was waiting, and I was waiting, and the client was asking, when we're going to do this, and I said, I'm just waiting. And it was one Saturday morning, and I remember it was Bobby's first time at the cinema. We're on our way, and I wasn't driving, I was on Twitter, and the particular journalist said, is anybody going to the Sean Kelly Ross in Waterford? So it was a cycling race in County Waterford. And I was like, oh, my moment. Tweeted him back, and I said, not going to the Ross, but a bit better, I could actually give you an interview with Sean Kelly. He followed me straight away, and he said, DM me your mobile number. Bingo. Did the interview. 3 weeks later, 3-page spread in the Sunday Times. Not all about the cycling show, but a good part of it. Okay? What was I doing? Helping a reporter out. Subscribe to their blog, connect with them on Twitter, review their other social media channels, and decide how best to connect with them. Don't go in and beg for love, please. Don't hound, offer value and insights, be friendly. More common sense. Make an announcement and send a personalized email and outline what's in it for both of you. Create brand awareness. You could have a blogger event. They can be pretty successful. Bloggers love coming out to events. Just create a blogger event, invite exclusively bloggers along. Do you care, or do you or can you solve a problem or answer a question? It's my old help a reporter out. Your knowledge, your product, or your software. Okay, remember niche at the beginning of the morning that we spoke about? Provide rich content. We're going to get into content marketing. Rich content is really, really important. The internet is all about content. It's words, it's videos, it's photos, it's graphics, and it's links. And a link is quite simply an address of another web page. So that's an infographic we did for the Blog Awards, and it just shows the nominees. So what we wanted to show at this stage of the process, we were creating online PR, is how many bloggers from different parts of the country were nominated. You see the Antrim featured fairly heavily as the Dublin, Galway, Kildare and Cork. So that was a visual representation of Ireland's top bloggers at nominee stage, and then we did another one for their finalists. So it was a really good, and the online media picked it up. You know, they picked it up and they posted the infographic, and it was just a great way to depict information. Okay, so connecting with influencers. Find them on Twitter, do a search for them. You can have an advanced search where you add in more keywords. Twitter tips, follow a news agency. Yeah, see who's following them. It's the quickest way to find your influencers. The other thing that you're doing when you follow somebody is that you're telling Twitter, the algorithm, what you're interested in. And it does a bit of work for you. It will then bring up people that it suggests you to follow. Look at PR agencies, or look at your competitor. Who are they following? Who's following them? Great shortcut. Create a Twitter list of your media contacts, so you can tweet out specifically to your list. It's a really good tip. So you're actually segmenting your audiences. Bloggers, media, maybe customers on Twitter. So then your messages are becoming more targeted. So this is something that I did a couple of years ago and I still think it's relevant. I always say, how's your Twitter? Has it got the POW factor? Are they prospective customers? Remember, family and friends? You know, how valuable are they to us? Are they online influencers? What's an online influencer? A really good following. And are they word of mouth marketeers? Are the people retweeting you, sharing your Facebook posts, liking your Instagram posts? They're your online word of mouth marketeers. I know my following, that's what they do. I would easily argue that I would get about 60% of my business from online. When the phone call comes, they know all about you, they've done their research, date, time and price, and that's where you want to be. Okay? You make the internet work for you.